2020 will go down in history as the year the war just stopped. When COVID-19 reached the UK, millions were affected. Families, social lives, education and businesses.
So I think lockdown was a bit iffy. I mean, it hasn't proven too effective. Do I think that anyone else would have done a better job than the current government? Probably not.
They could have literally just shut down the planes and everything instead of so late.
It looked like a last minute thing. You know them ones where you've got an assignment due the next day?
I think they could have been more honest from the very start of what was to be expected.
As a direct effect of the lockdown, the economy began to deteriorate. The hospitality sector was forced to stop operating to prevent social situations that would increase the infection rate. The government, however, devised a plan to protect the industry with schemes that encouraged the public to order and take away, such as the Eat Out to Help Out schemes.
No social distancing whatsoever.
But what about small businesses? How are the startups surviving? Or a more important question is, will they survive? We follow 3 small business owners to hear how Lockdown 1 has affected them and how they are planning to survive it a second time. This is Lockdown. When did you start working on Game On?
Started working on Game On. Well, the idea came last summer holiday because I knew I had to come up with a business project idea for my dissertation. So it all built from there, really.
Gimmick started basically in 2 separate parts, basically. So there's 2 different stories. My story started when I was at college, and I'd done sports at college, so I kind of gymmed in everyday situations, but I didn't know it. And it was kind of a joke sort of thing. So imagine like playing football. Oh, you can't hit the crossbar from there. Yeah, okay, watch me gym it, you know what I mean? Like, so just literally every situation. Oh, you can't do a muscle up, watch me gym it. Like literally every situation you can gym it. So it just started as a joke, and then it kind of like, oh, do you know what? Gym is actually motivational. It's pushing me to that one step further. So that's actually where it started on my end.
So on the side, I'm a logo designer, graphic designer, and got my own clothing company, a sports clothing company. So yeah, just working on those really.
So Game On is, the idea is to build a physical forum, which ideally will be located within the Bullring. So it's a physical centre where children, both boys and girls, between the age of 8 and 14, can actually come and game online whilst physically socialising and building a gaming community amongst their friends.
What sort of effect has lockdown had for you?
Personally or business-wise?
Business-wise.
Business-wise, it's had a major effect on me financially, obviously because I've been furloughed. Then 2 months into lockdown, I actually lost my job at the beauty parlour. So financially, it's been hard. It's been really hard, especially trying to get Game On up and running.
The plan for Gimmick this year was that we should have been selling clothes. So this time now, we should have been like on a website should be launched, and then people should be able to buy in it. But so at the start of the year, we was like really psyched. You know what, we're gonna do this. And then now, obviously after all lockdown and stuff, it's like okay, then we have to like postpone. So yeah, it's just held us back loads.
In terms of lockdown, I would say that lockdown has affected my business a little bit when it comes to the clothing side, simply because people aren't really wearing gym clothes when they're in lockdown, since there's no gyms to go to. So that's affected it in that way, and also getting research for, getting research from the people so we know what to do moving forward is really hard to do as well. And also, I think, but on the good side though, designing logos and stuff part-time, that has kind of increased a little bit, because I think in lockdown a lot more people have tried to start up their own business and started to kind of do things on their own. So they wanted a logo designing. So I was able to do that, and then also do it quite quickly since I didn't have the school to work in. So in some respects it's been alright, and in others it's been a bit of a setback.
I think when I open, because everything's within your own spaced booth anyway, I'm hoping that restrictions of 2 meters, 1 meter, whatever they'll limit it to, hopefully won't affect how many people I can have in my establishment, because like I said, it's all individual pods anyway, so.
Families were banned from visiting each other. Entertainment businesses and social settings were banned. Schools, colleges and universities were shut down, forcing students to stay home, whilst educational institutions explored other means of accommodating students' learning. The UK introduced its first national lockdown.
I think they've done the best they could working in schools. I mean, you can only be so safe in the school. So I was given masks to wear and just to make sure I was sanitised on a regular basis. The problem, obviously, in school is that, you know, not everyone, especially the young people, adhere to the rules. So masks taken off or not even wearing them at all. Trading with their friends, like, you know, still hugging, touching, coughing all over each other. So, yeah. So I done what I could, but, you know, being in an environment where there's young people, it's only going to be up to a certain standpoint in terms of kind of hygiene and staying safe.
So throughout all of that then, did you actually feel safe?
Wearing a mask, I felt a bit safer, yes.
As a direct effect of people having to stay in all the time, the fast food and home delivery sectors had benefited highly from this. However, in the later stages of the first lockdown, things started to get a little too much, and it seems that demand of the people were more than they could handle. We managed to get a few words from a delivery driver at a local Iceland branch.
I'm originally from London. I lived there all my life until I met my missus, and then obviously I came when I found out she was pregnant. After I finished uni, I decided to just pack up my things and come down here. It took about 6 to 7 months, 8 months I think it was, to find a job down here because I had applied for so much. For some reason, I just didn't understand why I wasn't getting the jobs that I was applying for. Eventually I got a job. I was in that, it was a little delivery job for Amazon. I did that for like a few months. Then the company that I was working for, the subcontractors, they lost their contract. So again, I was jobless. I was in a position where I wasn't working. I couldn't provide for my family. You know, it was a brand new family. We was all still growing and learning new things. So I was in a difficult space again. Then I got a new job, which I'm still working in now. But when I started that job, that was last year this time. So literally I was just settling into like finally being in a work environment where I'm stable. You know, there's work every week. You know, the manager trusts me to do what I need to do, and every week I know that I'm going to get some sort of income, so I can start to finally plan and set things aside for my family. But once that happened, I think a month later, the COVID news came out, and then, you know, it was a bit strange for me because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to close, if I was going to be jobless again, financially if I was going to be stable. The wife as well, she didn't know what was going to go on. It was pretty scary at the time. And then all of a sudden, I get told, you know, you're not going to close, you're still going to have work, but it's just going to be 10 times harder. It's just going to be 10 times busier. So me and the colleagues that I work with, we kind of just took it on the chin. We didn't know it was new for everyone, so we just went into it, not knowing what's going to happen. And then obviously it happened. For about 4 months, it was non-stop. I think by the time the lockdown eased, we was all shattered. I think the area managers had to come in and look at us, and they could see on our faces we was miserable because it was literally like for a couple months non-stop, every day working. And a lot of the time when I was working, you know, you'd go to people's houses, you deliver the stuff that they needed, and they'll be like, oh, you're lucky, you're still working. And then you'd be looking at them like, well, financially I'm lucky, but mentally I'm suffering because it's non-stop, you know. When I go to sleep at night, I'm thinking about work. When I'm at work, I'm stressing, I'm panicking, I'm thinking there's not enough time to get the stuff that I need to get done. So it was tough. I've been the luckier ones to continue to work, but it was pretty tough because I didn't get to see my family for a while. You know, when I used to go to work, it'd be early hours. When I came back, it was late hours. You know, my son will be sleeping. The missus she'll be half tired, so she'll be going to bed sleep, and then you know, I'll just be most of the time be up, trying to like use the little spare time I had. I used to have like probably an hour to myself before I had to go sleep and then wake up again. So it was tough. It was tough.
The government introduced the furlough system to keep people's household afloat whilst not being able to go directly into work. According to HMRC, 9.6 million people were furloughed under the coronavirus job retention scheme.
I personally think the furlough system was very, very helpful, or has been very helpful, for the reason that when the coronavirus pandemic first really hit us and we went into lockdown, I had a small team of five altogether, and it was really concerning thinking, how are we going to pay wages and salaries, especially when we are paid on our own delivery. So at that point, as a manager, I was actually thinking, how is this going to work? When they announced the the furlough system, that brought about a feeling of relief, because in actual fact, not only was I worrying about how we were going to do it, but actually what was going to happen to the team, because people have bills to pay and lives to lead. So I think the furlough system has been really good in that way. I suppose nobody knew what was coming, so I don't really see how else it could have gone. In terms of what it's done for us as a business, it's allowed us to plan forward. So whilst we were on furlough, we didn't just sit idly on furlough. We actually tried to adapt and pivot the business to be able to respond to the coronavirus pandemic and get back up into operation. Thankfully, the majority of the team are now off furlough, with the remainder just on flexible. So that has been, I think the furlough scheme has been really beneficial in helping us as a small business stay afloat.
For me personally, like I say, as soon as it began, it was more or less over. But the furlough system, i.e. for my sister, she's in the events industry, and obviously hospitality and everything, it's just a no-go at the minute. And to be fair, because she works on a commission base, it's really helped her, because when it was due to finish, well, it had finished, hadn't it, until we'd gone back now, she was literally on £6 a day so it's really helped her. It has really helped her.
Honestly, I don't really understand it, because the percentage of furlough that we get doesn't even equate to half of what usually I'd make. And obviously everyone has like savings and that, but the furlough on its own is not enough to support anybody, I don't think.
I've been on furlough now for a few months now. I think it's good because it's something. When you know you could be on nothing, I think it's good. 80% still necessarily isn't enough to cover everything, but it's good that the government are trying to like put a little bit in, because obviously you can't do too much. The economy is already stretched as it is, so I think the fact that they're trying to like put 80% is good. It's a good idea.
So furlough is actually needed, to be honest, only because if no one got money but they had to stay at home, then they wouldn't live. Like, there wouldn't be an economy and people would be stuck. Everyone would be homeless, essentially. The rich would be rich and the poor would be poorer. So.
I enjoyed furlough. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the furlough. Yeah, but no, I think it's a good system, especially when you're shutting the whole economy down, and you know the whole nation is thinking, you know, have I got enough money to, you know, uphold the house, groceries, just, you know, to upkeep, just the minimals, look after family if you've got any. So the fact that I got it, and I know a lot of people that got it as well, it made life so much more easier, because hadn't I got it, I don't know what I would have done.
I don't really get it. Obviously, I understand that it's a government scheme, and you know it's there to help people, but at what cost? You know, they say to people that they will pay a percentage of your wages, but what about the rest? Some people, when they go to work, sometimes they need the full wages to work, you know, to pay their bills at the end of the month, you know, to survive, to keep going, to keep, you know, moving forward. a percentage, that only means that you're able to, you know, pay for a bit of what your outtake is monthly. I work with people, and you know, that have been furloughed and they've been stuck in their house since March, and they're miserable.
I was on the end of my maternity leave, so I was you know, on maternity allowance, and that was, you know, paid for by the company that I worked for. But when lockdown happened and the hospitality industry sank, basically, while everybody else was put on furlough and I was due to come back to work, I was actually let go at that time because the company, unfortunately, and through no fault of their own, they had to make a lot of cuts in jobs, and I think around 30% of jobs were gone. And you know, it was a difficult time because I had to rely on support from everyone but the government. You know, at the time they were saying, oh, well, you know, if you need it, go on benefits and claim benefits. And, you know, there were all these other suggestions for people who had suddenly just lost their job and lost their main income. But then at the same time, there was also a lot of people complaining about the amount of people who were applying for benefits as well. So it felt like being stuck between a rock and a hard place, and the government definitely haven't taken responsibility for, you know, just average people like me who worked a certain number of hours a week to be able to pay rent, to be able to pay bills, and to keep going about life, really.
So I went back to work 6 weeks ago, and like I said, within 4 weeks, my last shift was last week. So yeah, there is no beauty, but that's what's carrying me through until I get Game On up and running. So obviously now that's gone. I don't know what I'm doing at the minute.
For people like me, you can't access the furlough scheme because you had to work for a certain period at the job for you to access the money, which I didn't, so I couldn't access it. So I was already in a predicament.
It depends as well if you're in full-time work or part-time work or 0 hours. I think for some people I don't think they can get it, but for those people that can access it, I think it's a good idea.
How do you think the British government handled preventing the rise in infection and death rate of COVID-19?
If I'm honest, do we want honesty? Real honesty? If I'm honest, I think the government could have done a lot better, a lot quicker. I think if they'd have shut the country down, followed protocols from different countries, instead of, I think as well, the government, it was more based on the economy and keeping things going and all about making money. Whereas I think if the government had listened to the World Health Authorities and health officials and let them take control rather than it's all a government issue, I think things would have been handled a lot better, a lot quicker. Same as like now, the second time round. We all think that obviously, see now I think, I'm gonna go off on here one, now for them to sit and say that figures are, if not worse, the same as what they were in April, how are we all still how we are now? When literally in April, the world was like a ghost town. The streets was empty, nothing. People wasn't seeing family members for months. Whereas now, it's almost, just because figures are high, that's the only reason they want to do it, because it's kind of wealth or health, where I think it should be health over wealth any day.
This is a grey area. The government, COVID-19 is completely new, so nobody knew what it was, nobody at all, so everyone's got their own opinions on it. So me personally, I think the government could have handled it better the second time around. The first time around, I believe that it's completely new, no one knew what was going on, and kind of like took it day by day. So it's like, oh, okay, then more people are dying, let me just take out restrictions. Oh, okay, more people are dying, let me just take more out. So it was like adapting to the situation. But now, like knowing what it is, having more of a understanding of what it is, and waiting this long for the second lockdown, I think that's completely wrong. Especially like when you look at Wales and you look what they were doing, they went into a 2-week lockdown over Halloween period, and they're opening the economy up like sooner like, that makes sense to me, but, like, in England, we were like, oh, do you know what, let me just drag it out as much as possible, get as much money as we can. Oh, wait, no, we've got to lock down for a month, and then, yeah, so I don't think we've actually handled it properly, but also I don't think there's a right or wrong way, I think it's just see what happens sort of thing.
I'm not sure I'm not sure about the government and what their thought process was in terms of their action in terms of lockdown and stuff. I'm not sure. Do I think they could have done it better? I think they can. Obviously, I don't work in that sector, so I can't really speak on their behalf. But what I would have liked to have seen is that have them look at all the information given to them, and then whatever their answer was, have it be straight and direct. Because a lot of things, what they were saying was kind of like sitting on the fence. It's like they wanted the economy to be open, but then they wanted to save people's lives. And you can either pick one or the other. And I don't think they picked one. They just kind of put them both together. And so we had this failing economy plus a lot more sick people as well. So I think in terms of the government, I think what they need to be doing is looking at the information and going on the information, sticking to their guns with one answer and not trying to bat for both teams, because it's not going to work.
If you don't know what's happening, just say you don't know, as opposed to just making up things and changing things as you keep going. And then I feel like, especially as a leader as well, you need to be completely transparent, especially when like it's a pandemic and everyone's panicking.
They'll be telling us like, you're allowed to do essential trips, you're allowed to do like gym workouts, but they should have had like operations where like you can still access everything, but in like certain rules like social distancing. So if you wanted to go like to the shop, yeah, you see people queuing up and that, and they're social distancing. That should happen straight away. You know what I'm saying? And they should have all the road marks, everything ready for us. Like, we've got enough workers, bro. We've got enough money. Why are we not doing it? You know what I'm saying? When the vaccine came, they spent like, 40 million doses instantly. But when they can't even get everything ready for a lockdown.
Like, all the prevention things they said, sanitation, masks, all of that, it should have been free. If it was that deep, they would have made it free.
So do you agree with the current lockdown that's going to go into place tomorrow, 5th of November?
As in regards to short and small businesses, yeah, because I think that tier system, I don't think helped. I was still going to my family's house and didn't even realise I was breaking the law. And I think when one person's in one system, no one knows. And I think as well, when you're all in it together, it makes it feel like a unity.
The tier system is stupid. Like, are we in Hunger Games? Like, it's actually dumb because, like, it don't make sense, because how are you gonna like prevent like people going into different, like, they're not preventing anything. They're not putting down their right of like banning people from going to different places. Because Birmingham's in tier 3. Nottingham's in tier 3. But you can still travel to work, school, everything.
I think there's a lot of fake news with the numbers that the media are showing. So it's hard to say what is right or wrong. So what the media comes out with, I think they are falsified numbers, to be honest. I think they're trying to push it to scare people a lot more than what it is. But like, I do agree that it is like damaging people, it is killing people. Just I think they're trying to push it to be like, oh, do you know what? I need to listen to everything they're saying.
I think as well, you know, like when you see, I mean, there's so many conspiracy theories about everything, but when you see the same Sky News showing a hospital in America, and then CNN is showing the same hospital with the same man walking down the same corridor, then they claim the hospital is in a different country. Yeah, I think it was very, very, no, it's true. It's true. And as well, like, I've seen things where they've named the same little boy over 10 times. Like, he had a different Hispanic name 10 times. Like, surely it's the same little boy. So where is this coming from? And as well, I don't think, like, did they have to actually, like, find statistics and data, or were they allowed to just literally report kind of what they want? And I think a lot of it was as well scare tactics.
Now as we enter what people are calling the new normal, will anything ever be the same again?